All right, so I want to start off by saying I absolutely positively love America. But just like every other country in the world, America's not perfect, and they do have some flaws, especially in our judicial system. I think one of the biggest flaws in our judicial system, I guess this will be more of a civil situation, is where anyone can sue anyone for anything. And what that has done is that's created a situation where people are having kids and they're being lazy parents. I give you an example. So now you have parents, they've already sued every single social media platform out there. And they've sued every single social media platform out there saying that the platforms are making their children um, feel self conscious about their looks and their body shapes, right? Then they've gone out and they've sued the video game companies saying video games like Grand Theft Auto has made their kids violent and blaming them for all the violence that's happened. They've gone ahead and they've sued um, television stations. And lately, the last one that they've sued is Roadblocks. And they've sued Roadblocks for saying, well, this is a game that's targeted towards kids, and you guys are allowing older people that have a fondness for children to be on there, right? And they're suing them, and they're probably going to win and get some money. And that's my problem. My problem is parents. Well, I'm not even going to say parents because parents are people that are actually involved in their kids' lives. People that are having kids nowadays, they're not parents. They're not involved in their kids' lives. They're not involved with what their kids are doing in the school, especially on these electronic devices. I'll give you an example. Most kids are not allowed to work until they hit the age of about 16 or so. And until they hit that age, they're not making any money. So everything that they get, their parents are getting for them. If it's a um, laptop, tablet, cell phone, the parents are the ones that are buying that for them. And how could you be a parent and you buy such a powerful device for your kid and you don't put parental permissions on there where they don't have access to certain websites, certain games, and certain things? How could you give a device like that to your child and just let them take it to their room, take it to school, and do whatever the heck they want to do with it, and you not check up on it or allow them to have passwords on that, and you're not aware of what they're doing, who they're talking to, or anything else like that. Now, when it comes down to the video games, if your kid is playing Roblox or any other video game, who's the one who purchases it for them? How is it that your kid is able to sit there, play this game, chat with people online, and you're not aware of what they're doing? I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Now, I'm a parent myself. My kids did not get a smartphone until they were in high school. And even then, I had this thing. When they got home from school, their phones sat on the table in the living room. They weren't allowed to take their phones into their bedroom. They weren't allowed to just have all kind of stuff on their phone and put passwords on that I couldn't see. That was unheard of in our household, you know? Now, granted, you can't stop your kid and make your kid perfect and prevent your kid from doing certain things, but at least you should be able to monitor them. Take responsibility. You decided to bring them into this world. You are responsible for them. How are you going to sit there and say it's Facebook's responsibility to make your kid feel safe and feel beautiful? Well, feel beautiful in their body. How is it that you're going to say it's um, Grand Theft fault for making your kid have violent thoughts and tendencies? And the fact that America allows us to sue companies for these ridiculous, ridiculous things, and these companies have to pay out millions of dollars. I just I just think that it's like saying you brought this kid into the world, you didn't monitor them, you didn't raise them right, you're not paying attention to them. So anything that bad that happens, you can find somebody else to point the finger at. That's exactly what America and the way they allow us to sue anyone for anything, that's what they're saying to these parents. And this is why you notice we have a new generation of kids which are just rebellious. They they have this sense of entitlement and they don't feel remorse for anything. And then you have, and I'm not gonna, that's just the kids, but then you have this new generation of parents who just, they didn't install any kind of discipline or morals into their kid. And then I'm not saying all kids and all parents, but you do have this group of parents, they don't instill these morals and principles into their kids. And yet, anytime their child does something, it's everybody else's fault, and they want to look at what everybody else did. And I'm going to give you guys a couple examples here, right? It's like, and I'm very upset about this because I feel like, you know, I'm not going to go into why. You know what? Okay, let me go into it. I'm very upset about this because I feel like I want to go out somewhere nice, have a nice meal, relax, be in a nice environment, and not have to worry about anything ridiculous or stupid or unnecessary happening as far as violence or just interactions with people. And it's very difficult to find that in the US nowadays unless you move to a small town, because just about everywhere you go, you're running into this generation of people that are just, ugh, that's the best way I can put it. Just, okay, so I'll give you an example of what I mean by parents not taking responsibilities. Here in Fort Lauderdale, there was a group of, I think this was back like maybe 2, 3 years ago in 2024, 2020. Yeah, about 2024, 2023. It was like 3 or 4 kids. They skipped school. They already had a stolen car. They drove up to Fort Lauderdale area, and they basically they stole a car. And when they stole this car basically at gunpoint, right? And now, um, they're on the road and they're being chased by the police. They hit a guy who's on a motorcycle or a motorbike or a bicycle. The guy's now paralyzed, right? I gotta check to see what the updates on this guy. They get on the highway and the police are still chasing them. The police did a pit maneuver. They spinned out, and a couple other cars got hit, and then the police went up to the car. One of the kids tried to run away, I believe, and the police ran up to the car and they yanked one of the kids out of the car. And the parents or the legal guardians or family member, when the media came to them and said, you know, what happened with the situation, and the family member was like, I don't like the way the police officer pulled them out of the car. They were too rough. They didn't have to do all of that. Those were minors, high school kids or high school kids. They had a gun. They hit someone. Person was in the hospital, completely paralyzed. They were having a police chase. They hit other cars on the highway. And your response is they shouldn't have pulled the kid so rough. Another great example, this one I absolutely was like my mind just kind of wanted to like explode, right? And I'm going to do a podcast on shame. And I feel like here in America, a lot of people don't have this sense of shame, right? And that was one set of parents. Now you had this guy, and I bet you guys could look all this stuff up on. Matter of fact, I'll put the link in. I'll put the link in for these two stories, um, on inside the description of a comment area. Then you had this other story where the guy, he's robbing a Dollar Tree or a Dollar General store, and a good Samaritan is walking by, and he sees what's happening in there. He goes in, he has his gun, he ends up shooting the robber, right? And he doesn't kill the robber, but he shoots the robber gets arrested. When they interviewed the family to say, what do you think that, how do you feel about what happened? And the family member basically was like, our relative was robbing the people in the store. He was not robbing you. Your life was not in danger. You had no business getting involved. That was their response. I mean, it just freaking blows my mind. It blows my mind. Like, people, they can actually get on television, national television, and say stuff like this, and they just feel like, it's everybody else's fault. And you know what? Matter of fact, this is the last one. And there was the video. I believe this lady, like I said, I'll put the links inside the video. So I'm just going, like, when I do these podcasts, they're not scripted. These are just things that I feel that I have to share with you guys. Hence the name of the podcast. I think it has to be said. I believe this lady had like 8 or 9 kids. She's staying up in a hotel, and she goes, y'all need to help me out here because I need help with all these kids. And it was like you went out and you had like 8 or 9 kids. You're staying up in a hotel. You're about to get kicked out the hotel. You can't afford to feed them and take care of them. And you're saying that we, the public, are responsible for them. And you feel okay getting on national television and saying that is like there's no sense of shame or anything else like that. And I think we need to bring that back in the United States where when a family member does something, we feel ashamed to show our face in public or amongst family members and friends and amongst our neighbors because we know that that is a reflection on how we raise that child. And I think if we bring that back into America, we can probably get back to being a civilized country where we don't have to be in fear of walking down the streets or going out or seeing a group of kids and feeling like they're going to rob us or do something crazy because, you know, it's just getting out of hand. All right. And I feel like that's just something that needs to be said.